Thank you, MC. I have a tall list of people to acknowledge, but because I'm not sure who is here and who is not, permit me to refer to you all as distinguished ladies and gentlemen. But I would love to recognize one person, Honorable Setekwe, who is a former Minister of Finance for this great nation. And I call him my boss's boss, because when he was finance minister, the current finance minister was his deputy. And my boss continuously talks about how he learned from him. And so today, I'm indirectly learning from you, Mr. Tekwe. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the vibrant city of Accra for the second Public Finance Management Academy for Africa under the theme Strengthening Capacity for Loan Negotiation and Debt Restructuring in Africa's Transition States. It is both an honor and a privilege to represent the Minister for Finance of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Dr. Cecile Atoba Forson, at this second edition of the PFMA, focusing on public debt management in transition states. May I, at this point, express Ghana's sincere appreciation to the African Development Institute and partners for selecting Ghana as a host for this valuable training program for transition states. Allow me to begin with a timeless African proverb that the wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it. You know how big the baobab tree is, and no matter how long your arms are, one person can never embrace it. You have to join hands with many people to be able to cover the entire perimeter of the baobab tree. This proverb captures the essence of why we are gathered here today. It reminds us that the complex challenges we face, such as debt sustainability, fiscal distress, fiscal stress, and economic recovery, require shared wisdom, deep collaboration, and strong partnerships. It is complex for one country to confront alone, so we need each other. Ghana's economy faced significant challenges in recent years, with a continued fiscal deficit leading to an upward trend in the debt trajectory. The budget deficit in 2020 reached 16% of GDP, as per revised figures from the IMF, while public debt increased from 65.7% in 2019 to 80.4% in 2020. By 2022, public debt was about 88% of GDP, with debt servicing consuming over 70% of domestic revenues. Significant central bank financing of the government's budget led to inflation reaching hyper levels of 54.1% in December 2022. The worsened macroeconomic situation led to credit rating downgrades from all three major credit rating agencies, all putting Ghana's ratings in junk status. The government's efforts to control the macroeconomic situation through revenue-led fiscal consolidation without expenditure rationalization failed to stem the downward tide. The international capital markets then shut Ghana out. The spread on Ghana's Eurobonds spiraled out of control, reaching an all-time high of 3,400 on October 31st, 2022. Faced with these macroeconomic challenges, Ghana declared a default on its external debt in December 2022. The country then sought an IMF program, necessitating the most comprehensive debt restructuring ever on the continent, after authorities at the time finally accepted that the revenue-led fiscal adjustment would not be sufficient to restore debt sustainability. We launched a domestic debt exchange program in 2023 and entered into complex negotiations with bilateral and commercial creditors under the G20 Common Framework. Ghana's debt restructuring experience is neither unique nor isolated, but it is enlightening. Ghana's experience is echoed across the continent. Today, 22 African countries are in or at high risk of debt distress, many facing the same convergence of fiscal pressures and institutional gaps. In 2024, Africa's total public debt reached an estimated $1.86 trillion, with debt to GDP ratios increasing from 44.4% in 2015 to 66.7% today. This year alone, debt servicing is projected to exceed $89 billion, squeezing out essential investments. Behind these statistics are delayed infrastructure projects, reduced social spending, weakened public trust, and constrained national development efforts. They reflect real and rising pressures that limit our ability to deliver on the promise of Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Recognizing this, the African Union Commission just 2 months ago convened a pivotal conference in Lome under the theme Africa's Public Debt Management Agenda, Restoring and Safeguarding Debt Sustainability. It called for African-led solutions to rising debt vulnerabilities through stronger institutions, greater transparency, and enhanced domestic resource mobilization. But let us be honest, our institutional and technical capacity still lags behind the scale of the challenges we face. Many countries still secure loan agreements without a full understanding of the long-term legal, financial, and developmental implications. Often, weak institutional frameworks and limited access to skilled negotiators mean we get less than optimal outcomes, prolonging fiscal stress and reducing room to invest in people. Since taking office, the new administration here in Ghana has taken key, bold corrective measures to reset the economy following the debt restructuring period. The government realigned the 2025 budget to achieve a primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP and introduced corrective measures to address excessive expenditure witnessed in recent past. Accordingly, amendments have been made to the PFM and public procurement laws to establish fiscal and debt rules, strengthen control over public spending through commitment authorizations, and enhance fiscal responsibility frameworks. These are more ambitious than the targets in the current IMF program. Furthermore, the Ghana Electronic Procurement System has been fully integrated with the Ghana Integrated Financial Management Information System, aiming to improve efficiency and transparency in public procurement processes. The government also tightened monetary policy to combat inflationary pressures and introduced major structural reforms across key businesses, sectors, and processes, promoting economic growth and stability. We also front-loaded fiscal consolidation backed by expenditure rationalization and cuts to ensure that Ghana's fiscal dominance becomes a thing of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, these measures demonstrate the government's commitment to pursuing an ambitious and lasting fiscal adjustment with the goal of restoring strong debt sustainability. The results of these efforts are already showing. Against the backdrop of economic policies implemented by the government, the outcome has far exceeded expectations in recent months. The country's provisional real GDP growth rate for the first quarter of 2025 stood at 5.3%, up from 4.9% in the same period in 2024, and surpassing the annual target of 4.0%, mainly driven by policies in real sector activities, external sector development, monetary stance, and fiscal operations. Similarly, the Bank of Ghana's Composite Index of Economic Activities grew from 1.5% in April 2024 to 2.3% in March this year. Inflation has reduced significantly from 23.4% in December 2024 to 18.4% as of May 2025. We're expecting a new inflation figures this week, and it is our expectation that it will go down again. This is the lowest inflation since early 2022, and is targeted to go even further in June 2025 and the rest of the year. Consumer Confidence Index rose to 103.6 in April 2025 from 87.7 in April 2024, while Business Confidence Index increased to 102.2 from 92.6, reflecting renewed optimism about the economy's direction. It is worth noting that this is the highest consumer and business confidence index in 7 years. Ghana's debt restructuring aims to restore a moderate risk of debt distress by reducing the net present value of public debt to GDP to 55% by 2028. As a result of Ghana's cedi's sustainable appreciation, the debt to GDP ratio is forecasted to meet the 55% target ahead of time in this year, 2025, a notable achievement that positions Ghana as one of the few countries to achieve such progress in the third year of comprehensive restructuring. Ladies and gentlemen, these developments have been recognized by the credit rating agencies. Fitch Credit Rating Agency upgraded Ghana from restricted default to B- with a stable outlook. This, on record, is one of the fastest credit rating upgrades post-debt restructuring in recent global developments. What this means is that one cardinal objective of the IMF program, which was the restoration of international market access, has been achieved far ahead of time. Ladies and gentlemen, in summary, our experience is that debt restructuring is a painful exercise, but Ghana remains unrelenting in our pursuit and is committed to completing it for the benefit of all Ghanaians and to provide lessons for other African countries. Africa's debt profile is evolving, with reduced concessional financing and increased commercial financing resulting in high borrowing costs. Credit rating agencies should also consider the peculiar characteristics of African economies and incorporate them in their sovereign ratings. By applying the same set of metrics to both developed and developing economies, rating agencies may be further reinforcing structural biases in the world economic order. The G20 Common Framework has seen only 4 countries in Africa applying. That is Ghana, Chad, Ethiopia, and Zambia are the only ones to have applied for it, some say due to its complexity. The complexity even deepens when we consider opposing objectives arising from different creditor priorities, with official creditors seeking fair burden sharing and private creditors focusing on maximizing recovery value. This, therefore, puts into context the importance of this week's training session. Peer learning opportunities such as this can improve debt restructuring architecture and facilitate easier processes for transition states. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this week gives us the opportunity to reflect, share, and collaborate. Let us engage openly and honestly about what has worked, what has not, and what we must do differently. Let us not just confront the uncomfortable truths, but also act on the opportunity to build more resilient, transparent, and accountable debt systems. Let us together stand beneath the baobab tree, drawing strength not from any one individual, but from the collective knowledge, experience, and determination of all gathered here. Above all, let us reaffirm our commitment to African-led solutions built on transparency, discipline, and accountability. I reaffirm Ghana's commitment to sound fiscal governance, institutional resilience, and responsible debt management. The road ahead may be challenging, but it is not beyond our reach. Together, we can build the institutional capacity, policy frameworks, and shared resolve needed to navigate the complexities of loan negotiations and debt restructuring in our transitioning economies. With the right tools, partnerships, and political will, we can turn today's debt pressures into tomorrow's development opportunities and gains. Finally, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, to once again express our gratitude to the African Development Bank for hosting this second episode of training here in Accra. I conclude by wishing all a productive discussion and fruitful outcomes, and to impress upon you to take time off your busy agenda and personally experience Ghanaian hospitality. You must all endeavor to visit Akosombo and its environs before you leave here. Thank you all. On this note, I declare this 5-day training session duly open. Thank you for your attention.